coming on the air because just moments ago, embattled New York Congressman George Santos pleaded not guilty to multiple federal charges. You're looking live right now at the scrum outside the courthouse. Reporters and officers there surrounding the crowd. Santos emerging from that courthouse. Unclear if we're actually going to hear from him. I'll be listening in along with all of you at home. A short time ago, Santos pleading not guilty to those federal charges, including 5 counts of wire fraud for political contributions, 3 counts of unlawful monetary transactions, 1 count of theft of public money, 2 counts of wire fraud for unemployment benefits, and 2 counts of false statements on House disclosure reports. This was a 13-count federal indictment.
There's a mic stand back there by the park.
We're trying to get to it, but your colleagues...
Reporters are trying to get to him, obviously, as you can see this unfolding. Again, the indictment unsealed this morning. There you see George Santos facing multiple questions outside the courtroom after listening to the judge read the summary of the charges inside the courtroom. Magistrate Judge Ann Shields reading that summary. He then pleaded not guilty before the judge. When she asked him if he was aware of the charges and of his rights, he said, "Yes, ma'am." It's believed he's been released on $500,000 bond at this point.
Will you resign, George?
Guys, there's steps coming up. Be careful, guys.
And not stopping to take questions, though you can hear many of the reporters, both local reporters and national reporters who have come to the New York area to report on this congressman who surrendered to authorities. He was arrested, processed in central Islip, New York. That's right outside New York City. He'd already been accused of lying about virtually every aspect of his life. His family, his education, his employment. Federal prosecutors say he spent thousands of dollars in campaign donations on personal expenses, including designer clothing and credit card payments. Also charged with illegally receiving unemployment benefits during the pandemic, even though he was employed at the time. Prosecutors also charging him with lying to the House on his financial disclosures. For months now, many New York Republicans have been calling for Santos to resign. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has not done so. In fact, the Republican leader just today saying the charges are concerning, but he is not calling on Santos to step down. Bit of a surreal scene playing out as George Santos leaves the courthouse. Aaron Katersky, who has covered the case. Aaron, very hard to tell it for us.
What are you doing? Get out, get back. Today we're going to have the opportunity. There's no way to get to the podium. Today we're going to have the opportunity.
Let's listen to Santos.
There's no way. Jody, where is this podium?
Let him go to the podium. Let's go to the podium.
Make go home. Look, if you guys don't behave, there's no way you're going to get information back to the people. So if you make way and act like, civilized people, I know you all are. I know a lot of you by first name. We talk all the time. Let's get to the podium, make some space, and then we'll address. Can you all agree? Make some space. There you go. Look at that. I'll address you guys, but let's get to the podium.
Go. Come on, let's move over to the podium. Come on, everyone.
There you have it, a plea from George Santos that reporters allow him the space to at least make it to the podium so he can talk publicly for the first time since being arrested this morning by federal authorities. Again, multiple counts. He was read the summary of the charges by that magistrate judge. And as I mentioned earlier, he was asked, are you aware of your rights? Are you aware of what's included in this indictment? And the answer was yes, ma'am, in court. It was a total of 10 minutes. He has left the courtroom, no ankle bracelet or monitoring device. We are told, though he is out on bond. He can travel between the New York area and Washington to represent his district, walking to the podium now where he's expected to make a statement.
You want to address them too? Well, you're in front of me. All right. We made it here. Look at this. All right. So I know you all have questions.
Come a little closer. Come a little closer.
I know you all have questions. I know that everybody's been waiting for the moment for me to come out and talk to you guys. Look, this is the beginning of the ability for me to address and defend myself. We have an indictment. We have the information that the government wants to come after me on, and I'm going to comply. I've been complying throughout this entire process. I have no desire not to comply at this point. They've been gracious in there. Now I'm going to have to go and fight to defend myself. The reality is it's a witch hunt, because it makes no sense that in 4 months, 5 months, I'm indicted. You have Joe Biden's entire family receiving deposits from nine family members receiving money from foreign destinations into their bank accounts. It's been years of exposing. A lot of you here have reported on them, and yet no investigation is launched into them. I'm going to fight. I'm getting back to that. I'm going to fight my battle. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to fight the witch hunt. I'm going to take care of clearing my name, and I look forward to doing that. Now, hold on.
What do you say to that?
I would like the opportunity for some of you guys to ask some questions in an orderly fashion, and we'll start right here. Go ahead, Rachel.
Santos, why would you apply for unemployment benefits when you had a job making $120,000 a year?
Rachel, this is part of my defense. This is inaccurate information, and I will get to clear my name on this. During the pandemic, it wasn't very clear. I don't understand where the government's getting their information, but I will present my facts.
Prosecutors say that you got prosecutors say that you got over $20,000 in unemployment benefits, sir. How is that acceptable?
Ma'am, like I said, my employment was changed during the time. I don't understand where the government's coming from. I'll present my defense.
And
to
one
that.
last follow-up, Congressman George Santos.
What evidence do you have that they don't have? Because it's extensive.
Oh, I have plenty of evidence that we will now be sharing with the government in this case to make sure that I can defend my innocence.
Are you planning on running for re-election?
Yes, I am.
And why should anybody believe you now?
Well, like I said, I will prove myself innocent, and then we'll move from there. And re-election is a very far time away from now.
I'm sorry for blocking. The $750,000, they said that you reported that wrongly. Do you have any comment to that?
Well, like I said, I will be giving them all, will be delivering all the finances of my company. I'm delivering all my finances to them to dispel their accusation against me.
And again, you will not resign?
I will not resign.
Congressman, did you take campaign donations and use that money to buy expensive suits?
No, I did not.
Do you think you'll win re-election?
That's not up for me to know. Elections are very tricky, and it's up to the people. I trust them to decide what's best for them.
Congressman, you've admitted to lying in the past. What do you think will make people believe you this time around?
Oh, look, like I said, I've asked many times. I want to be judged by the work I do in the body, and I stay committed to that.
Are you headed to Washington now?
Yes, I am. I have to go back and vote. Tomorrow we have one of the most consequential votes in this Congress, which is a border bill, and I'm very looking forward to being there to vote on it.
You heard from the speaker right now.
Well, I'm not going to address just the speaker. I'll address leadership. I appreciate everybody's patience with my presence in Congress, as you know, the media has its ways of doing things, and I respect you guys. I've maintained good rapport with a lot of you guys. I've spoken with a lot of you guys, and I have the intention to continuing that open door. Some of you who are from the Hill know how to find me. Some of you here from the district don't have a hard time finding me. It's about keeping in line of communication. So I appreciate leadership for being patient at this time and for allowing the process to play out. I think this is about innocent until proven guilty. This starts. I have my right to fight to prove my innocence, as the government has a right to fight to try to find me guilty in whatever charges.
Why haven't you showed any documents to prove your innocence until now? Because you're being accused for a long time.
Well, because the media is not jury or the judge, so I will present that to the jurist and to the judge in this courthouse.
And to the Congress.
Well, if Congress requests it, I will present it to them as well.
So are you vowing to you won't negotiate a plea?
I'm feeling, look, it's hard.
Yes, thank you.
I'm addressing one of your colleagues here. I don't want to give the back of. So, as usual, Jody, I do my best to be a positive person. Life is already as bad as it gets out there. So I'm fine. I'm good. I believe I'm innocent. Yes, I do.
What was your reaction?
So there you have it. Congressman George Santos saying, I believe I'm innocent, saying he will not resign, saying, in fact, he will run for re-election. I want to get right to our investigative reporter, Aaron Katursky. Aaron, this was quite the indictment today. Multiple counts on the federal level. A 10-minute appearance before the magistrate judge, Ann Shields, when asked if he was aware of his rights and aware of what was included in this federal indictment, he said, yes, ma'am.
That's all he said, David, other than the not guilty plea that was entered on all 13 counts on his behalf that charge him with wire fraud and theft of public funds. There were 3 different schemes outlined in the criminal indictment that accuse Congressman Santos of misusing funds, of receiving unemployment benefits he did not deserve when he was actually working and drawing a salary, and then lying to the House on financial disclosure forms about the source of an income and how he spent his money. David, he has already been exposed as a liar. These charges now allege he is also a criminal, even though George Santos told reporters outside court there in Central Islip that he believes he is innocent and will not resign.
Dan Abrams, who's also listening in on this. Dan, this was quite something that we watched unfold here today.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear effectively what his defense is. And his first defense was a political one, right, which was to point the finger at Joe Biden and say, why aren't they investigating Joe Biden? The problem he has in these kinds of charges is that they tend to be paper trail cases. They're cases where there are documents, there are emails, there are companies that are set up, et cetera. So these tend to be tougher cases to defend with regard to, a mistake or a misinterpretation or an eyewitness who didn't see something, et cetera, particularly on the most serious charges here of wire fraud, basically saying he was going and getting people to ask for money for his campaign, that he then took that money, transferred it into his bank account, and used it to pay off credit card debts, to buy clothes, et cetera. So it's not going to be as easy in a courtroom as it may be in a press conference to try to change the subject. He's at some point going to have to address the very specific allegations that Aaron just laid out in terms of those 3 buckets that he's charged with.
Our thanks to Dan Abrams, and Dan aptly points out that that is something that voters will actually be able to understand very clearly, that among the counts here is the allegation that he took money that was gathered for his campaign for Congress, and the allegation from federal prosecutors is that he spent that money in turn on designer clothing, on paying his own bills. And again, that's just one part of this 13-count indictment. I want to bring in Anna Musalia. She's investigative manager editorial at Open Secrets, a nonpartisan group that tracks money in the public space, the use of money in politics. And what was most troubling to you about this federal indictment?
It's really just memorializing a lot of what we've already seen, which is just a long history of Santos facing allegations of falsification in terms of the campaign finances, just a messy campaign finance space, but also a number of questions raised by where the funds come from, a number of inconsistencies, and really one of the most damning aspects of it is that there is that paper trail. It is that we are able to see all of these things in the public record, and every American is able to see those inconsistencies for themselves.
Anna, thank you. Pointing out, again, the notion that there's a paper trail, that at least publicly you can use the familiar political rhetoric that this country has become quite accustomed to, but in a court of law, you're going to have to answer to the paper trail that federal authorities say they do have. One of the reporters there asking questions about the paper trail, about some of the facts in this indictment, was our own Rachel Scott. Rachel, you were asking about another part of this multi-count indictment that alleges that George Santos actually received funds during the pandemic, even though he was employed. He said he'll present the evidence to refute that.
Exactly, David. But so far, we have not seen any evidence to the contrary of what federal prosecutors are arguing here, that at the height of the pandemic, Congressman George Santos, in his first bid for office, applied for unemployment benefits, was accepted and then used those funds even though he had a job and was making $120,000 a year, according to prosecutors. And so you heard me there. I pressed him on this issue. He says that he doesn't know what type of information the prosecutors were able to find, but he believes that he is still innocent. The bottom line here is that there will still be a lot of questions about this, certainly on Capitol Hill, especially as House Republicans are pushing forward a bill right now that Congressman George Santos is actually co-sponsoring to crack down on unemployment fraud, the exact thing that he's accused of doing, David.
And one last question, Rachel Scott, our thanks to you as well. One last question to our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl. John, this is a 13-count federal indictment. George Santos pleading not guilty this afternoon. In fact, just a short time ago, 10 minutes in front of that federal judge. The Republican leader in the House, Kevin McCarthy, has been pressed repeatedly here about whether or not George Santos should resign. He said it's concerning, but says so far he's not going to ask him to.
Yeah, and we've seen members of Congress who have been indicted and have resigned to mount their defense. We've seen members of Congress who have been indicted and have gone forward with their defense until their trial. They've got a right to do so. But there's a lot of pressure on the Republican leader, given the seriousness of these charges and the fact, as Rachel mentioned, that some of these are quite explosive politically, specifically allegedly ripping off unemployment benefits, claiming that he was unemployed even as he was running for Congress. Really quite extraordinary. But there's a larger political context, too, of course, David, and that is that the House is very narrowly divided. Kevin McCarthy has only a 5-seat majority. In some sense, his majority is even narrower than that. You remember quite well that he took 15 rounds of voting to be elected Speaker. He won by only a single vote. He would not have won without the vote of George Santos. George Santos voted for Kevin McCarthy in all 15 rounds of balloting. It's going to make it very difficult for McCarthy to come forward and to do anything to suggest that Santos needs to leave. He already doesn't have committee assignments. But highly unlikely that he'll go further than that, at least for now.
Again, as John Karl reminds us here, Kevin McCarthy would not be leader of the House without George Santos' vote because of that very slim margin of one.